Right. We're live.
Shit.
We're not live. We're recording.
We're not live. We're on delay.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Welcome to episode 9 of the Kids From It podcast. I'm joined once again by Kayla and Kai. How are you guys doing today?
Great. How are you?
Good. I'm nervous.
Oh yeah, it's the nervousness is good as far as I'm concerned. Like you guys, when you played sports and high school, or whatever, college, and before game time, you were always a little bit nervous, always a little bit. Like it's actually kind of hard to eat beforehand, and once
I
you
only
start
played
playing,
volleyball. I was never nervous.
you were never nervous.
No, because I was excited to. It was something other than church. And I didn't care if we won or lost or anything.
I still got nervous. I got nervous how I did not upset Coach.
Oh,
Because
are
we
you talking about Maranatha?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
wow.
was the best volleyball team that I was ever on, though. We were legit.
Oh wow.
He smoked us. If we up, he was like laps. Right.
Yeah.
Well-
I was just trying to make a little funny IFB anecdote there, TJ. And
Well,
Q.
for everyone other than Kayla, apparently, we get nervous before you play sport. Kayla, but I was always nervous. Like I'm nervous for pickup games and stuff. I'm always like on edge just a little bit, but like 2 minutes in, 30 seconds in, it goes away. Same with public speech. Public speech is the exact same way. I am nervous before every speech I make. Although the times that I'm not, I suck. I've noticed this, that when I don't feel like that edge, on pins and needles, that healthy stage fright kind of helps out. But so I still get nervous every time, but you just push through it and you'll be all right.
Hated it.
Yeah. So last time, well, actually a couple times ago, I think, because Kai and I did a Star Wars episode this weekend that we talked over, and so we'll be cutting that up and releasing that later. But we gave our testimonies, Kai and myself, and today we're going to be graced with Kayla's. I like that I call them testimonies. I thought it was just funny.
I know,
Oh, yeah. I was like, why
back
did
where I
you say that?
Yeah.
He got me when TJ labeled the episode and he was like, Kai's personal testimony. TJ's friend. I'm like, I feel like we're like, like when you're at church and they're like, anyone want to come forward and like tell the story of
Yep.
salvation and blah, blah, blah. And you're like,
Well,
That's-
I still haven't found I need to go buy a DVD player. I'm really going to do it this week so I can watch my testimonial DVD and my baptism. That I sent you guys a picture of it. I'm really excited to see that. I don't know what's on that CD, but
Yeah, the choice was not a mistake.
yes. All right. So I'm so nervous to do this, guys. I wish I had started. No, I wish that we had done it together. I wish I could have done it with Carla or something like that, because I felt like at the end of y'all's intros, I had a million things to say, or that like ways that we tied in together. So I'll just like go with my notes here and
Let's
let's
go.
just talk. Okay. All right.
we
So,
got you, baby.
huh?
We got you,
you?
baby.
Thanks. Well, so I wasn't born IFB or born into it, I guess. Like my family kind of got into it, I think, either through a bus ministry or we started through schools. Like it was really important for my mom. She always wanted me and my sisters to go to private schools even before we got into churches, I think. But I was born in Germany and my dad is in the military. We ended up like at Fort Leonard Wood, and that's where I got introduced to Maranatha and the IFB stuff. And from there, we just like moved around a lot. And I eventually, by the time I was 15, 16, is when we lived in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. Yeah. And so that's when I think my passion or my big thing that I always want to talk about on the podcast and here is always the Haven. It's because that was such a big IFB event in my life. But I lived in Fort Leavenworth and I was doing like regular teenager stuff, like sneaking out, going to parties, maybe a few times. It was like my first exposure to public school was my sophomore year of high school. So I hear, is it Wolfie?
Yeah, Wolfie, yep.
Oh,
Just walked in,
come on,
yep.
Wolfie.
Say hi to the girls, Wolfie.
Yeah. Hi, buddy. I'm so cute. So I don't know. I think that's like where everything picked up in my life was IFB related. Um, I remember I had like this friend that I was so close to, that we went to church together at Fort Leavenworth, but we also went to Fort Leavenworth High School together. And that was so weird for us because um, being so immersed in our families being IFB and then having to go to a regular school every day and try to figure out what was happening. But I think that she like told on me or something like that, because I don't even think that my parents caught me sneaking out. Really, I wasn't doing anything that bad, but that was like what got things rolling, and I ended up at the Haven. And so I know we got a lot. You know, Stacy talked about it last episode that I was on. That was huge for me. But after the Haven, I went on to Bob Jones University. I know we've talked about Bob Jones a good bit too, but I was only at Bob Jones for one semester, and then I finally ended up like in a regular place in life, I think, in Dallas. I moved out to Dallas to go to college and live with my dad, which was cool. And that was like my first time in the world. It was like so fun, so cool. I was so glad that I lived with my dad when I was in college. I'm my dad's only child too, and so that was wonderful. I don't know how my life, you know, when I look at you know, just some of the other, you know, all these other kids that are in homes, and like how we've all had to go to like therapy, and you guys too, like how we're doing this and stuff like that. We've all had to like talk through things, overcome stuff. I know that I could have went down a really dangerous path, I think, after I got out of Bob Jones, because at that point something happened at Bob Jones for me. I went from being um a sincere, you know, Christian girl. I was trying really hard after I came out of the Haven. And at some point while I was at Bomb Joe's, I was just like, I'm not even going to pretend like I'm buying into this anymore. I don't like this. And I could have gotten in a lot of trouble, I think. But I had my dad there. I lived with my dad. And so he was like really fun and really cool. So yesterday was Father's Day. I'm feeling nostalgic. Shout out to him. And then, yeah, I ended up, Taylor's oldest time, getting pregnant, dropping out of college, getting married. And now I have two great kids, and, you know, I do this. But as far as what I believe religiously now, I'll tell you, I wanted to reference this last episode. So funny. Unreligious by Bill Maher. Do either of you remember watching that?
Religious.
Is that I thought it was
Religious.
unreligious or something. Sorry. I remember watching that sometime around when I was at Bob Jones, and that like blew my mind too. And that was really what started me, I think, researching theology. I've not gone back to church or anything since really since I left Bob Jones. Actually, obviously I had to go to Catholic church a lot at Bob Jones. I think I've gone like one time with my grandparents. Um, and I felt safe because I was with my grandparents, but I remember like being very aware that I only felt safe and comfortable because I was there like doing granddaughter things. Like I was there being granddaughter. So that's my whole story. That's my whole IFB thing. So yeah, guys, that's it.
Thank you, Kayla.
Short and sweet. Thank you.
I was going to ask. You said so you didn't grow up, or you weren't born into the IFB, and that you started attending at Maranatha, and because your mom wanted to you guys go to a private school, and so she kind of shipped you guys off there and on the bus and everything. What made her start going to church?
Well, so I think that we kind of always did. I think that we were Methodist before, honestly. I do remember United Methodist Church. Yeah, I remember a specific one in Fayetteville that we went to, I think, when I was really little. But yeah, so I think that church had always been a little bit in our lives, but a different denomination and a lot more relaxed, a lot more normal. So, and that's one point that I'm really not clear on, is whether or not we started at the old Maranatha building. You guys remember, TJ, do you remember the old building? Yeah.
That's the building I graduated out of, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember you said that last time. So that was either where I started school or we got picked up on the bus ministry, maybe both. Like, I know that we didn't go, my mom, like my family didn't originally go to church there. It was just me and Courtney that were like attending church, but I don't know if that was before or after we got into the school. To me, it makes sense that it was after, because we were military. So I'm thinking that we probably like moved to Fort Leonard when my mom was looking for like a private Christian school. She didn't like, the Methodist one or whatever. And so we ended up at Maranatha, and they put a lot of emphasis on everybody at school. If you wanted to be the right vibe, I don't know, you had to go to church too. So we fell into it pretty quickly. And then my mom was a single mom at the time. And she met my stepdad there too. And then we just kind of fell into it as a family. And my stepdad he, to my knowledge, like, he was definitely brought up in a very, very Southern religious home, but very normal, like, as far as like the religion goes too. So this was an extreme change for both of them. But I do kind of like what we talked about last time we met. I feel like my mom really drove us, or my mom felt the most driven to like become part of Maranatha. The wives, it was kind of like a club, it was, tight knit group, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like how much group driven guys. But it was definitely something like that. So yeah, it was a wrap from there.
And
Speaking
go
of
ahead, Kai.
the like the close knitness of it, which is really weird because my mom's like mostly responsible for Kayla going to the Haven.
Oh yeah.
Like a weird, like, because I was also a rebellious teenager, but my rebellion was sneaking a High School Musical CD and a Kelly Clarkson CD and lying about it, and then getting
a little bit worse than that
after I was 18. So I'm surprised I wasn't sent away. But anyways, my mom is responsible partially, mostly kind of, for convincing Kayla's mom to send her to the Haven.
It was definitely like, what, I do think that there was a culture of it around at the time, though. We were very close to Agape. And we were talking, speaking of sports, TJ, we didn't play regular schools. We didn't play other, public high schools. So when we had like sporting events, very small pool of other Christian school teams to choose from. So we were playing Agape kids and stuff like that. And these, the homes are around. So I think your mom definitely, I don't know if it was Pastor Carnahan or your mom who had the original idea or was like yes to it, but they both.
But she wrote you letters, right?
Yeah, your mom wrote me. Mm-hmm. She sure did.
What a ray of sunshine. I'm glad you've experienced that.
It's so funny. I've been really emotional, and I'm being weird right now too, guys. Like, because I've been unpacking and I just moved and all this stuff, and I'm trying to sort through things anyway. And then we're doing intros. So I've been reading some of these letters and looking through this stuff really heavily for the first time.
Yeah.
And it's really unsettling. Some of the letters, they're just not even like real. No one's really talking. It's just like here's a Bible verse. It's funny, but I'm really passionate about the Haven. I'm glad that you kind of brought me back there in this point, because I was super pumped to talk about it, and have Stacey on. I couldn't even like have introduced it the way Stacey did. What did you guys think too about all the stuff about the Haven? Did any of it like really blow your mind? Or
I don't think any of it blew my mind, because I feel like we grew up around that environment, and like we grew up hearing about these girls' homes, or they would come to the churches and sing, and then like I don't know, like the IFB has like Reformers Unanimous, right? And they were like home for troubled women, and they would come to churches. So, and like some of their like methods of learning new habits was similar to things that happened in the schools. So I don't think I was caught off guard by any of it, but also you and I have been friends for a very long time, like for 2 decades now. So I wasn't surprised.
Yeah.
But PJ.
Yeah, I was interested in the legality of
I really am too.
the conservatorship or whatever of the children like signing over the rights. I was right. I'd like to see how that worked because I'm having a hard time because I've seen something like that before. Like there was some kind of boys' home out here in Indianapolis that uh, there was a student at a high school who wanted to join the army, and he uh, he was only 17 and he needed his parents' signature to go through the enlistment process. And even though his dad had like granted this school as his guardian, they couldn't sign the paperwork. It still had to be his actual parent. There was like this weird gray area, and I'm guessing that's what this was. But I hadn't. It seemed really shady to me at the time, but I was looking into it, so I was curious how that worked because from what you guys said, the parents gave up everything and sent you guys away until you graduated, which is I don't know. That seems really strange to me.
I was thinking about it after the episode, and a lot of us were like really far from our families too, and that had to
Mm-hmm.
have be a lot of some of it. But and it was a lot of paperwork that I'm sure that my mom has described that they had to provide or fill out whenever they enrolled us. So it could have been a number of things, but yeah, I think it's really weird. Like Stacy pointed out that none of us have been able to get any copies of anything, not academic records, nothing. So there are a number of things that it could be, but yeah, so I don't know. That
Hey,
was my big thing.
I did have a question of something you brought up. You said at Bob Jones, shortly afterward, you said that you couldn't pretend that you were in the whole Christianity thing anymore. But that was before you watched Religulous. Like, what broke you away before you had that moment?
Well, first of all, I didn't fit in. Like I knew that I read the whole Bible while I was at the Haven. I got saved, and then I got to Bob Jones. I had this weird time with my family in between, and then I got to Bob Jones, and I was really driven academically, and but other than that, like I didn't have those feelings like I did at the Haven. Like I didn't.
Mm,
I was looking around, and I just was chalking things up as so much bigger or different than just what I was getting preached. I don't really know what it was. It wasn't anything. It was a slow unwinding.
mm,
I just stopped, and then the more I learned, it was through just researching and studying and like wanting to know about more religions, wanting to know more about the world, wanting and meeting different people. Like as a military brat, and I've moved around pretty much every 2 or 3 years for most of my almost 34 years of existence now. So I've met a lot of people, and you it I felt like for me the because IFB is so strict. Like it is so like the Bible KJV is law, and if you deviate from it, like you carry a lot of shame. I had to like let it go completely in order to like accept what I was like learning and experiencing from other people. And that happened over time. And then as far as like going back into church, like now I think that community is so great. Like I understand that Christians, that's really what it is. Like that's what church is all about. And when I read the Bible, like I think that's what like God was kind of like trying to preach to Christians, is that he wanted them to be together, or he wants you to be together, us to be together, whatever, whoever the reader is. But um it's just so dangerous, and as a parent, like I've struggled with that because I really want my kids. I think that the moral foundation of Christianity is so good. Like there's a lot of good in the Ten Commandments. There's a lot of good in community and all that stuff. But so like I wanted to put my kids in like Christian daycares and stuff like that. But I was like so physically uncomfortable doing the enrollment processes and going in and out of these churches, like picking my kids up to and from. So I just I just felt like it wasn't for me anymore. And then if I was going to have a relationship with God or a God, that I was going to make it really private and personal. And for me now, it's big and abstract. Like, I think that, everybody could be right. And it could all just be a bigger picture than our brains are going to be able to understand or accept. And for my life and now and this podcast and all that stuff, like I think that goes back to the questions that we had that you guys were answering, like what is our purpose and intent or intention with this time and this podcast. It's just to create that community and that space where like we can all safely talk about what we do or don't believe politically, religiously, whatever, so that we're learning from each other and we're healing together.